Yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to a special My Two Satoshis. We're going to look at this rebuttal, this document that Reggie Middleton, or actually his lawyers, have sent over to the SEC. They're heading straight for the neck. They've got a rebuttal that I'm going to go through in detail with you guys. I took a few notes, and I wanted to highlight a few things in this document. Fairly lengthy document, but we're going to take a look at some of it and get your feedback on it. And I'll give you my two Satoshis on what they've said in this document, and I'll give you my assessment on whether or not I think things have changed for the better for the Veritaseum team going up against the SEC. There are points on both sides, but at the end of the day, it's just about whether or not Reggie is willing to continue to spend money on this case. How long can he go with it? Many times that's how they win. They just bleed you out, you know. So the first thing I want to highlight for you guys that I extracted from this whole document was that it looks like the SEC has actually been going after Reggie back and forth for about 2 years now. So this was, I think, to us as the public, we were unaware of this, but he's been going back and forth with them for about 2 years. In this document, Reggie purportedly says that the liquidation of the Veri tokens were for lawful business operations and was consistent with the company's prior funding practices. He liquidated about $2 million worth right after, and we'll get into some more of this, but right after the Wells notice from the SEC. That's, I think, what really ticked the SEC off in this last interaction with them. But the SEC tried to freeze Reggie's personal assets, but the judge denied this. So the judge did rule in Reggie's favor in regards to freezing his personal assets. The SEC wanted to freeze personal assets as well. They were only able to freeze Veri tokens and Ethereum held by Veritaseum. Now, there was some mix-up and some gray area as far as what they felt was personal use and what was the company's use and who owned what in regards to the amount of Ethereum. But I guess that's still up for debate and discussion in court. I think they meet on the 26th of this month, August 26th. It was pushed back. They were supposed to meet yesterday, the 19th. But in my opinion, just assessing this document, you know, Reggie's legal counsel says that by the SEC freezing various assets, it actually causes more danger or harm to the quote-unquote investor. But my thing is, isn't Veri supposed to be a utility token? So the price of the Veri token, it shouldn't matter, right? It's almost like they're implying by mistake that this possibly is an investment token, because they're saying that by the SEC freezing all operations within the Veritaseum company, it's hindering or hurting holders of the Veri token. They then later do talk about Veritaseum and the V Gold side of things, where you know, customers can't even redeem their gold, and they're saying that that in return is freezing the customers' assets as well. That again is something that will have to be discussed in court here. Reggie also states in this document that he has said numerous times online and in videos and on social media that the Veri token was not an investment. I have to agree. I have heard him say that many times. I have to be honest though, I cannot say I've seen even more than a handful of Veritaseum videos, but you know, seeing him in person talk about it and online, I have seen a handful of times where he does state specifically that the Veri token is not an investment. And many times when I've heard him say this, it is in response to Q&A. You know, someone online may say XYZ about the token, and he would reiterate that it is not an investment. So I do agree that he's said that many times before. I don't have any legal background, never studied law or anything like that. I don't know if him just saying that is enough. Are there other actions that could constitute those tokens still being looked at as a security? I'm not sure. The document also claims that the SEC has mischaracterized Reggie's statements on Veri token increasing in value. I don't know how you can mischaracterize that. I've heard a few times the talk about price of Veri tokens appreciating, either directly from Reggie in presentations or implied. So, you know, there is a kind of back and forth where he's talking about the token not being an investment, but slipped up and said that, or implied that the token will increase in value. as more countries or entities look to secure these tokens for various services or whatnot. So I don't know if that's a mischaracterization or if the SEC has something there on that. Reggie did a presentation for the SEC. I didn't know this, showing them the beta platform. Subsequently, from that presentation that he did with the SEC, they actually still told him to stop the beta program. It would require him to register as a regulated securities firm in their minds. So he did stop the beta program. I do recall when he did that. But what happened then is that he pivoted toward a new service called Veritaseum, which, as you guys all know, I was not a fan of. I did not think creating a token, a crypto token or asset that is backed by a physical precious metal, made any sense at all. It's still the same counterparty risk. Okay, it's the same as having a gold certificate. It means nothing if the gold is not in your possession. Okay, if shit hits the fan, you still won't be able to obtain your gold, or if you do, it's going to take years and years and years to get that back through the court of law. So I was not a fan of the very gold idea, but again, he did pivot toward that after being forced to shut down the Veda platform in beta mode. I did not like that move, but anyhow, he did go forward with that. The document also states here, and I didn't know this, but to date and before the actual freeze from the SEC, the Very Gold platform did sell about 260,000 ounces of precious metals, and with that, I think he's done about 1.3 million in revenue from that platform. So far, though, Reggie has spent, and get this, guys, $1.2 million in legal fees against the SEC in the last 2 years. That is insane. And you have to think this is not going away anytime soon. Okay, come the 26th of August, it is not going to be over. It's not going to be like a verdict, a closure to this whole court case. This thing is going to drag on, and you know, the question comes to hand: how long can Reggie continue to bleed out money? This is what I mean by, I don't think he's in a good position right now to be going up against the SEC. I don't know how much money he's got to fight these guys, but already to date he spent $1.2 million, which is completely insane. And then on August 2nd, the SEC gave Very a Wells notice and only gave him 2 weeks to respond. I don't think that was fair. They've been investigating Reggie and Veritaseum LLC for over 2 years, and for them to only give them 2 weeks, I thought was a little bit unfair there. Not a little bit, a lot. But hey, that was the case, and that is what he's claiming in the document submitted, that that was an unfair move by the SEC. But again, I want to highlight this point because I think this is really what is a red flag, or I shouldn't say a red flag, but is a pain point, and I think is really angering the SEC, is that the fact that Reggie sold a 2 million, or I should say moved $2 million worth of ETH after the Wells notice, and the Wells notice explicitly told him not to move any more assets pertaining to or associated to the Veritaseum company. He goes on to say in this document that he claimed it was a normal activity, but they just told him not to move funds. So I don't know how you can justify that if they told you in the Wells notice not to move any more funds, and then a day after or two you move $2 million worth of ETH. And I think of that 2 million, 600,000 or so, don't quote me on this, was actually moved to personal wallets and then liquidated, I believe. So after telling the SEC why he was liquidating such large amounts for company expenses, they then asked for a budget of various expenses because they said his lawyer fees were too expensive. Yeah, you spent 1.2 million in the last 2 years going back and forth with the SEC. That is a lot of money. Am I surprised? Not really. But some of the other line items that are stated in this document talk about $125,000 a month fee for some miscellaneous FX, gold, I don't know, some service that he's paying for or using. They're just like, what? Why do you need to liquidate $2 million worth for your expenses? It just didn't add up to them. I'm not saying it wasn't justifiable. I'm just giving you guys exactly what the SEC was concerned about. And really, I personally think that is the main part that's got Reggie in trouble. is the fact that he moved funds after the Wells notice. That is a big no-no, and I think that's going to come back and bite him big time in that case. You know, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to get out of this whole case unscathed, like them dropping all charges. I personally just believe, and again, I have no legal background, it's just my gut feeling, even if they drop some of the charges, he's still going to get pinned with a few of them, in my opinion. What does that mean after that for the company? I have no clue. In this document, Reggie's lawyers say that continuing to freeze assets would destroy the entire company. It would not be able to make payroll beginning on September 1st. That's right around the corner. So he's like, we need to lift that freeze on the company assets. Reggie is asking for a lift on all assets under the balance of hardship ruling, and you guys can look at that. That is on page 15 of this document, and I'll leave a link to it for you guys to check out as well. And the last thing that I caught and extracted from this whole document that I thought was kind of funny is that Reggie claims that his efforts in pushing more volume in on Ether Delta was to prevent market manipulation. I don't know how strong this case is going to be. I don't know how strong this argument is going to be, honestly, because they have emails of him talking to other employees from Veritaseum about, you know, I don't want to call it manipulating, but that's what the SEC is calling it, manipulating Ether Delta in an effort to raise the price of Veritaseum. He's arguing that it was to mitigate market manipulation. I don't know how he's going to get away with that one. You know, so ultimately, I looked through this document. He may be able to win on some of these points, but my final analysis of the whole case and situation so far, up until this point, is that he's going to get pinned on a few of these. And how long will this take? This is not going to be over at the next hearing. This is going to go on for some months, and it's just a matter of how long can Reggie continue to bleed from lawyers. And even if they lift the freeze on various assets, how long can Reggie sustain and battle and go back and forth with the SEC? Their approach may be to just bleed them out. You know, that doesn't help. So in my opinion, I still don't think it's looking good for Veritaseum. Win or loss, it doesn't matter at this juncture. They've asked him numerous times to stop with the very platform, and you know, he pivoted, and they're still going after him. So I just don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts. I just want to give you those notes though from the document. Again, I'll leave a link in the description of this video for you so you can check it out for yourself if you have some time, but I did want to just extract the main points. This document is 423 pages long. So pretty extensive here, but ultimately we'll just have to wait and see what happens with this case. Either way, I think it's gonna really damage the token and damage his ability to move forward in any other country as well. So it's just unfortunate. We'll have to see what happens. You guys leave your thoughts in the comments below, but that's it. Had to do a quick one on this Reggie rebuttal. He strikes back at the SEC with a few valid points, but ultimately I don't think he's going to get away with this unscathed. It's your boy Crypto Blood. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and I'm out of here. Ha!